Volcanoes, when they erupt, they are going to erupt magma, or they might erupt pumices and ash, and they're going to build a big cone-like structure, or maybe a flattened structure. So they're going to build. This is a volcano. Sometimes mountains are just created by plate tectonics. You might have read about it or heard about it. Where sometimes plates come together and they push up and create mountains. So Mount Everest is actually not a volcano. It's created by plates coming together and pushing up. So hi, my name is Liz, and I'm from the Cascades Volcano Observatory in Vancouver, Washington. We're up here to do the Lahar evacuation drill for you because we think this is very, very important. We're volcanologists, and I'm here with some people that I'll introduce you. We're here and we study volcanoes. We want to know what's going on at the volcano. We listen for some early signs of activity. What are some of the earliest signs that maybe a volcano is becoming more active? Tremors, earthquakes, very good. So we might hear some earthquakes. What else?
Smoke or ash coming out of the mountain.
There could be some small steam and ash eruptions. We're also looking for deformation. What do you think? Lahar sirens, if there's something going on. We're looking for magma pushing up under the volcano, because that might indicate it's pushing up into the edifice. And if you put a GPS station, like if you're monitoring the volcano, you put stations up there, and like GPS will tell you your elevation, and it will tell you your latitude and longitude. So if that's changing, you might be an indication of magma that's moving up. And also there's gases in magma. Magma seems like it's this kind of this real hot, liquidy stuff, but there are actually some gases, and as it's moving up from depth, these gases might start coming out into these holes in the fumaroles and the cracks into the mountain. So we track the amount of gases, because that might tell us about the magma that's coming up. And so we're volcanologists, and we think it's very important to talk to you about volcanoes, because it's not enough. We love to go up to the volcano. There's nothing better than a beautiful day up on the volcano and you're doing volcano research. So we enjoy doing that, but we think it's really important to tell you about it too, because the volcanoes belong to everyone. It doesn't just belong to us, as much as we would love to. And so I'm here today with some people from Colombia. There's a lot of volcanoes. Did you know, if you had to guess how many volcanoes there are on the planet right now? Active volcanoes that have maybe some earthquakes and some gases and some deformation. How many? 400,000? That might be a little bit too much. What do you think? 4,000? 4,000? Yeah, we gotta go down. What do you think? 10,000? 10,000? Oh, good point. 736. 736, baby. All right, I'll tell you, there's about 1,500, a little over 1,500, 1,500 volcanoes on this planet, and these are considered to be active volcanoes, maybe not erupting lavas right now, but you can see seismicity and you can see deformation, so we know they're active. And then in any particular year, we can have 20 eruptions around the planet, 30 eruptions, so that's a lot of volcanic activity around the planet. So we may not be having some here, but in other countries, there are volcanic eruptions. So I want to introduce you to my colleagues from Colombia, because we study volcanoes on the Cascade Range, and they study the volcanoes of Colombia. And we work together because we want to share our research with each other, and we share it with you. So I would like to introduce you to Gloria, Patricia, Cortes. She is actually responsible, she's the scientist in charge for a volcano observatory in the town of Manizales in Colombia. And so they're in charge of monitoring the volcanoes in the northern part of Colombia, of which Nevado del Ruiz is one. Raise your hand if you've heard of the volcano Nevado del Ruiz. Excellent, excellent. So we have some people. Good. So you've heard of Nevado del Ruiz. Good. We'll talk about Nevado del Ruiz. So Gloria will tell you about that. I'd like to introduce you to Lina. Lina works with the government of Colombia in the National Unit for Disaster Risk Management. So Lina likes to assess what the hazards are at volcanoes and probabilities, and she likes to be able to communicate that risk to people so they know what to do, so they know what the hazards are. If you live near a volcano, what are your hazards? What do you need to do about it? So she's going to help with that. I'll introduce you to Heather Wright. Heather works for the Volcano Disaster Assistance Program. So Heather would be available, you know, in volcanoes in these other parts of the world, when they start to awaken, there's a lot to do. So you got to go out and you got to monitor earthquakes, you got to monitor gases, and you got to do remote sensing with satellites, and you have to go out and take measurements. There's a lot of stuff to do. So if a government says, help me, Heather is there to help out. So Heather will be called upon, and she'll go to these other countries and she'll help them with their volcano program. And if it's not, even if it's not erupting, she'll help train them and help make sure that they are ready for the next eruption. And I'll introduce you as well to Joe Bard. Hello, Joe. From our volcano trivia, and he's a geographer. So if you're interested in careers in volcanoes, it's not always just a career as a geologist. Sometimes you can do other things, and Joe is a geographer, which means he's interested in how the land is laid out and how you're going to be able to evacuate people to get up onto the hill. Because you're going to have to go over bridges, you're going to have to go down through roads, you're going to have all sorts of terrain that you're going to have to go over. So he's very interested in the different kinds of terrains and how to get people out. He also does some geologic mapping and some very interesting things. So now I'm going to turn it over to Gloria, the scientist in charge of the Geological Observatory in Colombia. And she's going to tell you a little bit about the volcano Nevado del Ruiz. Okay? Thank you.
Hola a todos. Queremos compartir un poquito de lo que hacemos con nuestros volcanes en Colombia, especialmente el Nevado del Ruiz.
Hi everyone. We would like to share a little bit about our experience in Colombia and especially about the volcano Nevado del Ruiz.
El Nevado del Ruiz es ahora como un hermano del volcán Monte Rainier.
Nevado del Ruiz is like a brother volcano to Mount Rainier.
Por eso estamos aquí en Estados Unidos ahora, porque tenemos una actividad conjunta entre los dos países.
For this reason, we're here visiting the United States right now because we have an exchange program between the two countries, Mount Rainier to Nevado del Ruiz.
Nosotros aprendemos de ustedes en Estados Unidos, de los profesores, de nuestros colegas vulcanólogos, de los tomadores de decisiones.
We're here learning from all of you, learning from our colleagues at the USGS, learning about risk management.
Y ustedes, como estadounidenses, estudiantes, los colegas, han aprendido de una experiencia muy triste que tuvimos en Colombia.
And there's the opportunity for all of you, and also for our colleagues at the USGS, people that we've talked to learn a little bit about something that happened in Colombia that was a tragedy.
¿Qué tienen en común estos dos volcanes? Nevado del Ruiz y el Monte Rainier, que son volcanes que además están cubiertos de nieve.
And one big similarity between these two brother volcanoes, Nevado del Ruiz and Mount Rainier, is that both are covered with a whole lot of snow.
Y cuando los volcanes están cubiertos con nieve, tienen muchos fenómenos naturales como salida de gases, con todos los que nos contó Liz. Pero el más importante asociado a volcanes nevados es la generación de lares que pueden ir muy lejos del volcán.
And the same phenomena that Liz talked about, gases that come out of the volcano, seismicity, all of this is common to all volcanoes. But in particular, snow-covered volcanoes have this additional hazard, which is lahars.
El volcán Nevado del Ruiz se ve muy bien desde muchos lugares, especialmente en la ciudad donde está nuestro observatorio.
So Nevado del Ruiz volcano, it's a gorgeous volcano. You can see it from the town where Gloria lives in Manizales.
Y cerca, así como al Rainier, a la redonda cerca al volcán se puede ver, pero hay partes muy lejanas que si no lo ven podrían creer que no existe un volcán.
So close to the volcano, you can see it very well. But as you get further away, you stop being able to see the volcano. So, for example, there are some towns down the river where you can't see the volcano at all.
Había una ciudad muy bonita, se llamaba Armero. Estaba la parte más lejana del volcán, al oriente del Ruiz, y ellos no lo veían diariamente y no creían que un volcán como que no veían podría hacer un poco de daño.
So there's a town called Armero, and that town was located east of the volcano, down a drainage far enough away that you couldn't see it at all. And so the people living in this town, they thought, well, if we can't see the volcano, then it can't affect us. It can't do anything that would impact us at all.
Antes el Nevado del Ruiz se llamaba el León Dormido.
So before this, Nevado del Ruiz, this volcano, was called the Sleeping Lion.
En el año 1984, hace muchos años, empezó un proceso de empezar a despertar ese león.
So in 1985,
Armero.
1984, this sleeping lion started to wake up.
Mostró signos de señales sísmicas, salida de gas, la nieve se tornó amarilla por el azufre.
Okay, so things started to happen. Gas came out. The snow started to turn yellow because there was sulfur precipitating on the snow. And there were seismicity.
Sí, sismicidad. Y se empezó a hacer estudios para colocar sismógrafos, para hacerle un mapa para ver dónde podrían, si ocurría una erupción, cuáles eran las zonas de peligro.
Okay, so people started to study the volcano. They put seismometers out there. They started to do studies to look where things would go if there were an eruption.
11 meses no había un observatorio, pero se trató de entender qué pasaba con ese volcán que estaba despertando.
There was no volcano observatory, but over the course of about 11 months, they started to study. They spent more time on the volcano.
Pero lastimosamente el 13 de noviembre de 1985 tuvo dos erupciones explosivas.
Unfortunately, though, on November 13th of 1985, there were two explosive eruptions.
Una a las 3 de la tarde, otra a las 9 de la noche.
One at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and another at 9 p.m.
La de las 9 de la noche fue más grande, más energética, tuvo una columna de explosión de cerca de 25 kilómetros de alto.
The eruption that was at 9 p.m. was bigger than the one at 3 p.m. It produced an eruption column that went almost 25 kilometers high.
El material más fino en la columna, como la ceniza, se fue lejos, pero el material más cerca por gravedad cayó cerca al cráter. Al caer caliente fundió la nieve.
So part of that eruption column, the finer part and the lighter part, the ash, it traveled with the wind and it blew away from the volcano. But the heavier and bigger part, it fell directly down on top of the snow and started to melt the snow because it was very hot.
Sí, el calor fundió la nieve y aportó mucha agua que empezó a movilizarse por los ríos, a generar cada vez involucrando más material y generando los lahares que alcanzaron Armero, la ciudad de Armero.
So all this hot material landing on the snow melted a lot of snow. And so all the water that was generated from melting of this snow went down the rivers. And it went down, in fact, the river that went directly towards the town of Armero.
Habían dos ríos, el río Azufrado y el Lagunilla, que se unían antes de llegar a Armero. Esos ríos eran muy estrechos y cuando llega a Armero ya es una parte plana donde se moviliza y arrasa todo.
So there are two different rivers that come off of this volcano, and they join together just before they reach the town of Armero. So up valley from the town, they're very narrow, and they make these little canyons. But right before they get to the town of Armero, it all broadens out, and it makes a big flat area. And yeah.
Venía mucho material a una gran velocidad. Había viajado 2 horas desde una altura de 5.000 metros hasta sobre el nivel del mar hasta 400 metros. O sea, venía mucha energía.
So it took about 2 hours for this lahar to make it all the way down from the top of the volcano, which is over 5,000 meters tall. Went all the way down the sides of the volcano. 2 hours later, it had increased its speed. It was going very fast by the time it got there.
This is as a mission now, but in that moment, WhatsApp denied la erupción fue en la noche, o sea, esta es una emisión de ceniza reciente, no es una erupción como tal, esta tiene 3.000 metros.
So this is a picture late in the day. It's not at night.
Reciente
Yeah.
emisión, reciente.
So this is a recent photograph. This isn't actually from that particular eruption, but the eruption column was even higher at the time of the big,
5 veces más tal vez.
5 times
Y
higher.
aquí podemos ver dónde estaba la ciudad y dónde el río se abre.
So the picture on the right, you see how the river up the valley is very narrow, and right where it comes entering towards the town, it gets very broad and flat, and that means that all of that mud can spread out.
Recuerden esa foto.
So remember this photo.
Esa foto es esta partecita que vemos allá.
So that photo we just saw is just this very small part in the red box on this larger photo.
Pero esta foto es, podemos ver toda la parte que destruyó la ciudad. La ciudad no quedó enterrada, la ciudad fue arrasada.
Okay, so in this photo we can see much more of the city. And the city wasn't covered up by all the mud. Instead, the mud flow that came down swept across the city and it moved things out of the way because it was so energetic. It had so much, it was moving so fast. It swept things away.
Esta es una foto desde el aire, antes y después.
So here's a photo pair showing the city before and after that lahar.
Esta es una historia muy triste porque murieron cerca de 25,000 personas, muchos niños, jóvenes como ustedes, personas adultas, y esto generó que se hablara del segundo desastre volcánico más grande en el mundo en el siglo XX.
Okay, so this is a very, very sad story for them because in this lahar about 25,000 people died, and this was people from all over the community. It's very sad for all of them, but in addition, it's the second biggest natural disaster in the 20th century in the world.
Queremos compartir esa historia para que no suceda en ningún lugar del mundo, ni en Colombia ni en ningún lugar del mundo, porque un fenómeno natural como una erupción no debe ser, no necesariamente tiene que ser un desastre.
So we're going around, we want to share our story because we never want this tragedy to happen again. But an eruption doesn't need to be a tragedy. An eruption there's an opportunity to not have the eruption be a tragedy.
No queremos tener miedo hacia nuestros volcanes, ni al Rainier ni al Ruiz. Queremos aprender de esos volcanes que son muy lindos, nos dan agua, nos dan fertilidad.